to really kind of circle back around with you from last week's call. Did you get a chance to listen to it?
I have not. Sorry.
Okay, okay, that's okay. I don't know if Chuck's going to be on the call or not because he emailed me this morning, so I'm not quite sure if he's going to be here or not. So let me just kind of give you a little bit of a backstory as to what we do on this call. And you have to forgive me because it's not scripted. My classes are not ever scripted. So usually what I try to do is really just connect with my audience and really figure out, what I can do to help them become better at their craft. So one of the we are fortunate and unfortunate at the same time to be in an industry that gives us an upside potential unlike any other market that I've ever been connected with, associated with, or even know about. Would you agree with that?
I think so. Yeah.
We literally have a limitless amount of potential income dependent on what we decide to make of it. So right out of the gates, I'm not a professional coach. I am a 20-plus year veteran in the loan origination business. I owned my own company for several years, hired and fired, but I've been an originator for all of it since 1995 till the end of 2012. And so what happened is I had a mortgage practice that two people now, it was divvied up and two people are running separately and are running it effectively well based on the principles that I handed them the keys to and told them that these are the things that I think would be really beneficial if they wanted to keep working at it. And so it really has narrowed it down to what I do isn't so much about me talking about things that I've created or things that I've mastered myself, but yet these are things that I have implemented into my business and did them imperfectly, but did them consistently and saw tremendous amounts of results. So is it my understanding, Steve, that you are a loan partner to Les Tuttle? Is that correct?
Yes. I just
Okay.
got my license in January.
Awesome.
Yes, a loan originator working for Les. I've gone to work for Les on a part-time arrangement, all commission.
Yep. So here's my background, and it's almost spot on to what you have. So I was fortunate enough to come into the business in 1995 and work for somebody who was willing to train me, and I was essentially their assistant. It wasn't a loan partner title; it was just an assistant title. And what had happened was that I basically had to deal with all the SHIT that he didn't want to have to put up with.
Yeah.
But I worked with but he was a mega producer, and like Les, I was exposed to a plethora of different loan scenarios in a very, very short period of time. So what I ended up realizing was, I didn't know what a mortgage was when I got in the business. I didn't know what a mortgage process looked like. I didn't know what an appraisal was. I didn't own a home. I had freshly graduated from college and said, I got a degree in public relations. Let's try something. So I got into the business, and probably in the first 3.5 years, probably quit 100 times because the business was extremely stressful, and there was no training module, and there was no class to learn how to do this stuff. It was all just kind of, throw you to the fire and see what happens. Well, what I quickly realized is that if I was going to be successful in this business, I either needed to become extremely good at sales or I needed to become very good at attracting people to me. I'm not a salesperson. I've never been a salesperson. I've never wanted to be a salesperson, and to this day, I think salespeople are they're not at the same level as the rest of us. And I don't mean that negatively. I just think that salespeople have a tendency to sell us on things that we may or may not need. Whereas if people are attracted to you, you become more of an asset to them and a helper. Does that make sense?
It does. Yes.
So what ended up happening was over the course of those 3.5 years, I learned some valuable lessons about human relationships, and that is that when you decide to work with somebody around buying a home, you are basically learning more about them than they share with probably their closest friends and relatives.
Yes.
And that's a very, very stressful process. And I also learned that in order to get people to feel comfortable working with you, you had to be vulnerable with them up front, and you kind of had to take ownership over the situation and let them know what was about to happen. I believe, and this is the unfortunate part of our business, is that many people in our industry and our craft don't focus on the relationship side of the business. They're very, very transactional. And if you look at Les's branch and you compare that to any of the other branches around, there's enough people in this industry that treat consumers like a commodity and like a transaction, and there's not enough people who treat them like a relationship. And I know this through and through because I talk to about 35 LOs a week, and every single one of them shares very similar views of what their businesses look like. So I've really kind of mastered the art of relationships as it relates to this business. And I'll give you an example. So in 2012, which was the last full year that I did loans, I did $15 million in loan volume. Now that's not a lot when you look at some of the other producers that are around here, but 63% of it came from my past clients and current clients. That means more than $10 million of my volume of business came from past clients referring me and current clients referring me.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That speaks volumes to me about what it was that I created. See, I don't believe that I was a loan officer. I believe that I was an originator, and I didn't get paid to close loans. I got paid to originate relationships. Our role in this is really very similar to what I went through when I first started in the business. It was to take the loan opportunities that Les originated and then close them, get them through the process in such a way that they close on time and that everybody's happy. Is that a fair generalization of what you do or will be doing?
It is, yes.
So you have to ask yourself, what is your role in helping Les close loans? Is it just to close the loans, or is it to amplify his relationships with the people that he knows? I'm going to tell you that if you're interested in growing your brand, your ability to communicate with people and to grow a business that creates income opportunities that you have in front of you, the only way to take hold of that and make it your own is to start realizing that your number one asset is not your ability to pick up the phone and give people information. Your number one ability isn't to close loans. It isn't even to close them on time. Your number one ability is to master the art of the one thing that makes you, Steve, different than everybody else in this business. Do you know what the one quality about you that you have that nobody else has?
Me.
Yeah, but be more specific. What does that mean?
I mean, it's my integrity. It's what I bring. It's, the fact that they can count on me. The fact that either they or some referral connection has a positive past history with me.
So let me narrow that down for you, because a lot of people come into meetings and they share those same things. There's not a single person that I've met that wouldn't say everything that you just said. The problem is that when you have 5 people all saying the same thing, how does your audience differentiate you from everybody else?
Okay.
And the only thing that you and I have that are different, you're right, it's all about the individual, but I'm going to be specific with you. And this is something that you're going to hold true for the rest of your life, at least in this business. The one thing that makes you different than everybody else, Steve, is the words that come out of your mouth. Your ability to communicate from the heart into the head and out the mouth, and having them all be congruent with each other, is really what makes you different than the next person. So the art of what we do is our communication. The product of what we produce or what we do is the closing of loans. And while you're involved with every loan that comes across the branch, you have an opportunity to create and orchestrate referable situations that can put you in the position where you now become the referable professional and Les becomes not so connected. And let me explain that to you. Les's goal in this is obviously to nurture you, to mentor you, and to get you to the place where you're originating your own loans. Fair?
Yes.
The problem is that you either have to help Les grow his business and in your free time go out there and originate your own relationships, or you can take ownership over the files that are coming through the process and you can start orchestrating referable situations to where you're the point of contact. And I'll give you an example. So when I got into the business, my job was to essentially close loans. The problem was that I didn't realize how many times through the process I had the power or the capability of becoming that focal point for the client and getting them to endorse me instead of the owner of my company. When I realized that, my business quickly shifted. And I was applauded for that because the owner of the company, Jim, was all about, Doug, if you can create opportunities and you can bring them in and I don't have to talk to them, but yet the company still makes money, I'm all for it. Wouldn't that be a fair assessment?
That would be, yes.
So if you could create relationships through the relationships that Les has put on your plate, you would go from being an employee or a assistant to really being an originator and to becoming an asset of the branch. Is that fair?
I think so.
Okay. If I could teach you how to create those moments through the work that you're currently doing and teach you what to say, how to say it, and when to say it, would that be of value to you?
It would be. It would be. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
What?
Now,
Go ahead.
I mean, yes, it sounds very good. When you say through the work that I'm currently doing, what are you referring to there?
So when Les brings in a file, you're responsible to take the file from womb to tomb, correct?
No, that's not my job.
Okay.
I'm bringing the business in for Les.
You are, okay, so you are a full-fledged originator. I misunderstood what you said as far as helping Les close loans. Okay, I was under a total different premise of what you were doing.
Okay, sorry. No.
No, that's okay.
Now, and I mean, I'm certainly not an expert, but I feel pretty confident about talking to people and giving them confidence in me and Les and the company. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable about that.
Okay.
We've got plenty of room to grow. What's intimidating to me about this business is the processing part.
Yep.
Right now, I mean, I brought a couple of clients to Les already, and we have sat side by side and worked these loans together.
Mm-hmm.
But my gosh, I came from 30 years with AT&T.
Right. Right.
And the processes were tried, true, documented, tested,
Yep.
and we really don't have that same environment here, and I'm just going to have to learn it as we go. So that's the intimidating part to me.
Well, can I give you a piece of advice?
Yes.
Okay. The consumer doesn't know what they don't know.
Oh yeah, right.
Okay. The consumer believes right out of the gates that we are nothing more than a tool. And I don't mean that, sarcastically. I mean that they believe that we basically we are a hammer and there's a nail and it's the same movement over and over and over again until the nail is into the wood. That's their perception. That's why the market is so keen on rates and quickness of loans and being able to hire hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of college students to take applications over the phone and turn the file into process. Your greatest skill set, Steve, is not about understanding the process. That's the least of your concerns because you have an amazing team that supports you. What you need to focus more on in your conversations is the one thing that people remember most about their interactions with others. The quote, I'm sure you've heard it, people don't remember what you say, people remember what?
What you do, how you say it.
How you made them feel.
Okay.
So what that's taught me in my career is that you could go back 15 years in my database and I'm not going to have a client remember what the process looked like, whether they closed on time, what the rate was, what their fees were. 100% accurate. They will not remember that. But the reason people will refer you is because they will remember how you made them feel. And that ties directly into the one thing that makes you different than everybody else, and that's your ability to articulate your value. See, a lot of us, most of us, if not all of us, have no unique selling proposition. We have nothing to say to our clients that make them want to use us, except for what they hear in the marketplace. And I'm sure you don't want to compete on rate, and I'm sure you don't want to compete against the big banks, the credit unions, and the internet companies, because there's probably a higher level of value that you possess inside. Even though you came from AT&T, you possess a customer service skill, you possess a relationship skill that many people in our industry fail to have. You've got years of experience in dealing with people. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, so the product in which you deal with them in is different, but the end result of what you do is the same, and that is getting people to believe that you are the best person to help them through this process. That's all it is. So through the classes that we're going to teach, and if you go back and listen to the class from last week, there are 3 things that make you different than everybody else. And that comes from your ability to articulate your value. So when you sit down in front of a client, there's a white elephant in the room every time you meet a consumer. There's always a white elephant. And that white elephant is what you just kind of alluded to. Why should they use me? Why do I want to use him? Do you think in your brain that every client thinks of that question at some point?
Yeah, at least under the surface, yeah.
Okay, so when you ask yourself, does it help you to deal with those white elephants in the room from a professional standpoint, or does it make sense to avoid them and ignore them?
Deal with them.
Okay, so I liken it to the way a doctor operates. When I go to see my doctor, if I've had surgery a couple times in my life for my knees and my biceps, they always tell you the worst case scenario when you sit down and talk about going under anesthesia. Have you ever had surgery?
I have not.
Okay, so every time you go under anesthesia or a local anesthesia, they always tell you about the worst case complications that they have experienced, and it usually involves death. I mean, I'm going in to get my knee scoped, and they're like, "You could die." I'm like,
right.
"What?" I mean, that's over the top. Why do you think a doctor talks to you about that?
Well, okay, I'm really thinking about that. Doug, I guess because they have to legally disclose that.
Okay, that might be true. I don't know if that's legal or not, but the way that I've looked at it was this. When I choose a doctor for anything, and if you're married or have a significant other, they choose their doctor probably for the very similar reasons, and maybe you do the same. I choose my doctor based on his bedside manner. I don't care about the degree that he has on the wall. I don't care about how many surgeries he's done. I care that he engages with me and talks to me and gets to know me and shows an interest in me and makes me feel like I matter, which gives me the hope and belief that he's going to help me out in the best way possible. When a doctor tells you about the worst case scenario, he's doing it because he's managing his he's managing your expectations, but more importantly, he's dealing with the white elephant in the room. I may not think of the question, but it's a question that I know that I'm feeling. Like you said, it's beneath the surface. There are so many times that a consumer or a realtor walks into an office and sits down with somebody like us, and like I said at the beginning, they don't know what they don't know. But there are some general thoughts and feelings that everybody has. And if you're going to elevate yourself to be different than everybody else, what you say is what makes you different. So meeting a consumer for the first time, knowing full well that you've not been in the business for that long, that's a white elephant in the room that if you truly wanted to elevate your consultative skills, it would be addressing the white elephant head on. You know what, Mr. and Mrs. Client? I appreciate you guys taking the time to meet with me today. I'm really looking forward to helping answer your questions. You're probably sitting here wondering whether or not I'm the right person to help you through the mortgage process. But at the same time, I'm trying to determine if you're the right client for me to help take through the mortgage process. And the reason that's so important that we deal with that now is because I believe you want to know why you want to use me. And I'll tell you. My business is founded on 3 simple philosophies. And I'm recording this call, Steve, so you don't have to write it down.
Okay.
You can go back and do it.
Thanks.
There are 3 things that this business lacks, at least the understanding of what we do. And here in my career, working for AT&T and now in the mortgage business, I believe that I possess the 3 qualities that most loan officers don't have and that you can't get at a big bank or a credit union. The first one is, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I'm a consultant. I've learned in my career that asking the questions and digging deep and dealing with the things that people have in their head and educating them and asking the thought-provoking questions and challenging them on their belief system around it makes me a great consultant. Means that we can get all of the ideas of what you have is perfect in your head out on the table, and we will align them so that they either are reality or we can alter them to make them reality. The next thing that we deal really, really well with, or what I'm really good at, is my ability to negotiate. And what that means to you is that I believe that the money that you're seeking to borrow is mine. I treat that money as if it was my own. And that means that I'm more concerned about taking you through this process with me being laser focused on every single possible part of the process as if I was getting the money for my own home. And the last thing is that I'm a manager of people's fears and expectations. This business is extremely complicated. There's so many things to learn and understand. But with the help of Les and Elise and Britton, we have an amazing team of people that have decades and decades of experience. My ability to communicate with you and to take you through this process while holding your hand and standing side by side with you is the reason you're going to use me, because I profess to be the best of the 3 things here, a consultant, a negotiator, and a manager of fears and expectations. I realize that you could go down the street to a credit union or a bank or an internet company, and that's something that I totally understand is possible. But when you talk to those companies, if you decide to, you will find that many of them don't possess the skills that I have around these 3 parts of the process. And what it really falls under is this umbrella of communication. And the number 1 responsibility that I have to you, Mr. Client, is at the end of this process, if we decide to work together today, you're going to be somebody that's going to want to tell somebody else in your life who you care about me. And you are going to advocate me to the people in your life. That's the mission that I have with this process. So rest assured, my number 1 goal here today is to make sure that I'm a good fit for you and you're a good fit for me. And then if we decide to work together, my number 1 goal is to get you to refer me to somebody in your life that you care about. Is that fair? Is that something that you're willing to take on with me today?
That's a very good first conversation.
So getting back to what you said earlier about integrity, character, being committed, being involved, did I not say all of those things in a different way?
You did. Mm-hmm.
So if you and I were sitting in 2 separate offices and the consumer would sit down and talk to both of us separately, who do you think has the best chance of earning that client's business?
Okay, yeah, the one who assures the customer that, about these things, that, they've got their best interests at heart, that they will be with them. And
now, you can say all those adjectives, but the way in which you deliver it has a greater impact than the words do.
Okay.
So what I've described to the client are the reasons why they should use me. From the point of the 3 things that make me different to the point that my goal is to get you to refer me to somebody you care about. That entire dialogue, I'm sure as you were feeling it, you bought into the concept of what it was that I was offering. You heard what the bigger picture is to me. I did not communicate a transaction, but you knew and you understood that through what I was saying, you could tell that I had integrity and that I was honest and that I knew what I was doing and that I cared. I didn't have to say those words. They were inferred through the dialogue, which is what makes you sit up and take notice when your client is going to be talking, and I guarantee they'll be talking to other people. They will start to compare you. They'll start comparing everybody else to you, because nobody else is going to tell the client that that's what they provide them. And if you want to remove yourself from the commoditization of this business, the #1 request that I have of you is to stop treating yourself like a commodity and start believing that you have a mortgage practice, that you possess a conversation and skill set that matches your effort. You're probably just as committed and just as driven and just as ferocious when it comes to making sure your clients get what they expect as everyone else. But when a consumer is trying to decide who they want to use, they're trying to find the person that believes what they believe. They're trying to find that person that gets them connected. So when you sit down with your clients for the first time, and this conversation applies to realtors as well, and there's a lot that goes into this conversation beyond just the surface, and we'll get into those in future conversations. So what I want you to start paying attention to is something that you probably get every day anyway. Would you say that it's pretty normal for you to hear the word thank you from the people you talk to on a daily basis?
Yeah, pretty normal.
Okay. It's probably more than you even recognize, because it's become such a commonplace thing for people to say. Mm-hmm. What my homework assignment for you this week is to spend the next 7 days, and when you're interacting with your clients, when you're talking to people on the phone, have them, or not have them, when you hear the word thank you or some kind of an appreciative statement from them, what would you typically say? My pleasure, no problem, my job, glad to help, things of that nature, right?
Right.
Here's the first step in getting you to be more referable. And ultimately, that's what we're after. We're after getting every one of our clients to refer us to the people that they care about. I don't know about you, but I would prefer to work with a referral than a lead. Fair?
Okay. Yeah.
Would you?
Yes.
So it begs to reason that if you had the chance to earn more referrals and spend more time doing that, you'd prefer to do that than cold calling.
Yes.
Okay. It starts with everything that we're talking about today. It starts with identifying your value. It starts with setting the stage, and then it evolves into orchestrating referable moments. And that part of the equation is very difficult sometimes to master, because I'm asking you to change some old habits, and that takes a little bit of time.
Yes.
So when you hear the word thank you, your response over the next 7 days is simply, thanks for noticing. That's it. Thanks for noticing.
Thanks for noticing.
That's it. So what you're going to get is a couple people, they're going to be taken back by it, and that's intentional, because eventually the conversation is going to go from thanks for noticing to thanks for noticing. The team and I here work really hard at creating relationships with clients and an experience that is referable. We would be thrilled to work with somebody who you care about. Please do me a favor. Don't keep me a secret. You can have that conversation fluidly with every client that you work with once a week if you wanted, because you're communicating with your clients on a consistent basis. The point is, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. Your job isn't to close loans. Your job is to originate relationships. And I'm going to teach you how to originate relationships through relationships and through the efforts of what you currently do already, just by sitting up and taking notice of the opportunities as they're presented, and then you'll get good enough to orchestrate them yourself and capitalize on them when you want to, kind of like a volume knob in your business.
Okay.
So what do you do every week? So give me an example of what your day looks like today.
Well, I've just gotten started. I'm attending training sessions over the internet.
Yep.
After, today I'm going to I'm going to attend an IT guys type of session where they're going to, I'm not sure what they're going to do, but I think they're going to walk me through some of these systems. Okay. Then later today, I'm going to update my LinkedIn profile because I have not done that since I've gotten this job. And that's, and then I've got some, got to take my son to a counseling appointment. That's kind of what I'm going to do work-wise today.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. What is it that you're going to do today that'll generate an at-bat for you to get a commission check?
To generate a what?
To generate a loan, to generate a commission check.
Okay, you used a phrase I didn't catch, and
okay. What do you? So today, the things that you're doing are fantastic. They're all part of what's necessary, but there's a difference between being busy and productive. I want you to be productive, and I believe that every day we come to work, our goal should be a referral. We should be able to, in our network of people that know us, like us, and trust us, should be able to go out there and find one referral a day, 20 a month, one every business day.
Okay.
So what I heard from you was everything that was supportive in your business, but nothing as it relates to originating a referral.
Okay.
Is that something that you're interested in doing or not yet, just for whatever reason?
I am. I kind of feel like I want to get this LinkedIn profile up to date so that when people look at that, it will say that I'm a loan originator. Well, one thing I'm going to do, I had a conversation with one of my son's teachers yesterday, and in that conversation it came up that I am now working as a loan officer. So she said, hey, well, that's great. I would be glad to refer you to anyone I know that may be looking to purchase. So I was going to mail her some of my business cards.
Okay. Love it. Love it. What do you think is the best way for her to talk about you to the people she cares about? Like, what's she going to say about you that's going to make somebody call you?
That she likes me. I don't know.
Okay. Isn't that an amazing idea when you step back and go, well, what is she going to say to somebody that's going to provoke them or invoke them to pick up the phone and call me?
Yeah.
The fact she likes me doesn't lend any credibility to my capabilities, doesn't lend any enthusiasm to say I'm the best person for that individual to talk to.
So I don't know what she's going to say.
That's a hard question to answer because she's simply not going to, she's going to love to refer you when the opportunity presents itself, but don't you think it would be great if you could tell her in a very relationship way what to say?
Sure.
Okay. So here's the message for you today. I wouldn't mail her business cards.
Okay.
until you've had a conversation with her. I mean, let's be honest. She's offered to help you with the business. She basically offered it to you out of the gates, correct?
Right.
So what your response now is and you said she's a teacher?
She is.
Okay. So you only see her when you go to the school, correct?
Right. Uh-huh.
Okay. So if you can't get a conversation with her for 5 minutes, then maybe the best thing to do is simply just to mail her a card, a handwritten note that says something to the effect of, "Thank you for offering to refer me to the people you care about. I promise that any client, I'm sorry, not client, any friend who you send my way, I guarantee that they will come back to you and say thank you."
Okay, that's pretty powerful.
Ask yourself how many times you've gotten thanked for doing something for somebody and how good it feels. We're going to learn the art of what I built my practice around called the triangle of trust. It's a mindset and a conversation that gets people to realize how powerful you treat your relationships. But in a card, mailing it to her, it's going to be difficult for you to convey that. So you don't want to be salesy. You want to be different. And you're not going to get a large amount of time to keep her attention. And so if you send her a card and say, "Thanks for your offer to help, I promise that whoever you refer to me, I will get them to come back to you and say thank you, because my business will grow with great people like you." How many times did you hear me use the word I? Once? Twice?
At least once.
Okay. And that's because I'm not selling myself. I'm selling the concept of what she's going to feel and get by referring me. So subconsciously, I've put all the power into her corner. I've made the letter all about her. I've told her that I promise I will get them to come back and say thank you. But you've made it out to be where it was all about her. She's the one that's going to feel good for doing it. She's the one that's going to refer the people that she cares about. And you're honoring her because she's a great person. Now, that's not going to produce a referral for you, but at least it's a step in the direction of learning what your value is beyond mortgages. You didn't say that you were a mortgage person. You're not telling her about loans. You're not telling her about products. You're not telling her about rates. What you're telling her is that any person that you put in front of me, you will be glad that you did, because I will honor the relationship I have with you by getting them to come back to you and say thank you.
Okay.
But beyond that, your goal today is to get a referral. So let me give you a little strategy that I'd like to have you try. You've got loans in the process right now?
We don't have an official application, but we're talking to someone, yes.
Okay. Do you have a big network of friends?
I do.
Okay. Do you have 5 people that you could pick up the phone today and have a conversation with?
Perhaps. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you say perhaps because you don't want to call them and be salesy to them, so you're very cautious about knocking on their doors, right?
Yeah, I mean, would I normally call 5 people today? No.
Okay. But if you had $100 in your pocket and your goal was to give away $500 today, and if by talking to somebody, just by talking to them, you would give them $100, would you want to do that? Would you pick up the phone and tell people I have $100 for you if you can just talk to me for 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes? Okay. So the value of what you bring to the table isn't defined yet. That's why there's some hesitancy. When you pick up the phone, you don't want to what we call lean on them. You don't want to lean on somebody. And the definition of leaning, Steve, is leaning on somebody for something you don't have and needing them to give it to you. And right now that's opportunities to help people get a loan. And so the problem becomes is we have a high level of call reluctance when we pick up the phone and feel like we're trying to sell ourselves to somebody, or if we're trying to manipulate somebody into giving us what we need. It's called leaning. But if you had $100 in your pocket, and if you picked up the phone and said, hey, if you could just talk to me for 10 minutes, I'll give you $100, you could probably burn through those 5 phone calls in less than an hour.
Yeah, probably.
So it begs to reason that your value of what you're doing hasn't been defined yet. That's why there's some call reluctance. Okay. So what I'm hoping that you can do for me today is to kind of put that feeling off to the side and really just pick up the phone and have a conversation with somebody that already knows you, likes you, and trusts you, and tell them what you're doing. Do the people in your life know that you're in the mortgage industry now?
Most of them do, yes.
Okay. Do they know what a loan officer is?
I don't know.
Guaranteed. Everybody has an opinion of what a loan officer is. Guaranteed. Do you want that perception of what a loan officer is to be the way that people see you?
Probably not.
I'm going to tell you no. You absolutely do not. Because if you were to take a survey of 100 people, I'm willing to bet you that most people don't find loan officers favorable.
Okay.
So the whole reason that everything that I'm telling you is being presented this way is because we have to reframe the image of what a loan officer is to the people that already know you, like you, and trust you. We have to do a better job of creating the perception of who you are to the people that know you, like you, and trust you. And the only way to do that is for you to create the perception for them. And it starts back to what I said earlier. What you say and what comes out of your mouth is what helps people change their perception of you. If you talk like a rate, if you act like a rate, if you quote rates, that's what you're going to be to your clients. If you quote relationships, if you promote consulting and negotiating and managing of fears and expectations, you are going to be viewed as a higher level professional. Your bedside manner is going to be elevated, and people are going to believe and trust you more and are going to be less concerned with the other aspects of the mortgage that the marketplace pushes onto the consumer. So the art of picking up the phone and having a conversation with somebody that already knows you, likes you, and trusts you is not about getting a mortgage, my friend. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with educating them about what you are so that they can better refer you to the people they care about. And it's practice, because that conversation is better had on people that already know you, like you, and trust you than on somebody who you're trying to convince that you are the right person. And so the act of picking up the phone and talking to 5 people is really about, hey, this is Steve. Hey, man, it's great to talk to you. You know, I just got off the phone with a business coach, and he made me realize how powerful what I say is to the people that know me, like me, and trust me. I was wondering if I could just bend your ear for 5 minutes and just kind of run something by you. And most of them, if not all of them, are going to go, sure. Right? Nobody's going to say no. And I would say your start is ask them, what was the experience like with the last loan officer that you went through? That simple question in and of itself. What did you like? What didn't you like? And those 5 people are all going to come up with positives and negatives. How was the overall process? Good, bad? Okay. Was it memorable? What do you remember? And do you know why I'm asking you to do that?
Well, I think so.
Why?
Well, because it does open the conversation. I think you're going to tell me that um, I'm going to take their their likes or dislikes and describe how I and this company is different.
Yep. You absolutely are. See, the reality for you is you're trying to take their perceptions and you're going to alter them. And the only way to alter them is to first find out what their perceptions are.
Okay.
And you speak to the values that they have. And I will tell you, without question, any of the negatives can be traced back to one thing: communication. Guaranteed. You can bank on it. Anything that they tell you, you can trace back to communication. And when they come back to the idea that it was communication, you go, here's what I realize. I'm an amazing communicator. See, I believe that I'm a consultant, I'm a negotiator, and I'm a manager of fears and expectations for the people who you care about that you would refer to me. I understand what is lacking in this industry, and that's why I got into it, because I believe that I'm awesome at those three things. Now, I don't profess to know everything about the business, but my team does. What I have the ability of doing is navigating the process better than anybody. And I take very, very seriously my relationships with you and the people you care about. All I'm asking is that you don't keep me a secret. I would love a chance for them to come back to you and say thank you. Is that salesy, brother? Is that something that feels awkward?
A little, but not nearly as awkward as I thought it would be before you described it.
And that in and of itself is powerful for me to hear. It absolutely is. Because what you're not doing is you're not leaning on them. You're not. You're simply telling them about what you are. I mean, in all fairness, Steve, you could pick up the phone and tell any of your friends, the people that you care about, that you're honest, that you're trustworthy. I mean, if you were told that you have to tell people about who you are, pick out the 5 best qualities about you, pick up the phone and tell them to the 5 people you care about, that wouldn't be difficult at all. What you're wrestling with is the idea that what's in your head is going to come across as going to be offensive and push people away and make people feel like you're trying to sell them. Listen to the words. Engaging with them and having them talk about the negatives about their experience is market research for you. Responding to those negatives and lumping them all under what I believe will all come back to communication, and then changing their perspective about what it is that you do differently because you honor those 3 roles, and then telling them that your goal is to have anybody that they refer to you come back to them and say thank you. We'll get into the science in later calls, but the truth behind it is all you're doing is changing the perception of people of what people see a loan officer being, because you're not a loan officer. You're more of an originator than a loan officer because you don't know the loan officer business. You don't know the tactical side of the loan process well enough to be a loan officer. Right now, all you are is an originator, and my goal is to keep you there. I don't want you to become a great loan officer. That's not where you get paid.
Okay.
I want to teach you what it means to create value in your conversations and articulate your value so people are attracted to you, so that they will talk about you to the friends that they have and the people in their life that they care about. And if I can get you doing that consistently enough, then when you do dip your toe into being a loan officer, you're going to do it with a purpose, and that's to amplify the relationship and orchestrate a referable moment.
Okay. Well, Doug, I think you can help me.
I'm super excited at the chance.
I do. I think you can help me in this.
I believe that if you commit to the process and you really commit to the conversations that I'm asking you to have and commit to the process of having these conversations be intentional and deliberate, I don't want you to think that you're going to have to sound perfect or flawless, because again, people don't remember what you say, they just remember how you made them feel, and the messages that I'm giving you is a feeling message. It's a I care message. It's a I'm different message. It's a I'm the best person that you want to use to help the people you care about when it comes to finding out what their mortgage options are. And so today, my challenge to you is to call 5 of the people you care about and find out what their perception of the loan process is like. Call people that obviously own homes. Find out what their negatives are, and I promise you every negative is going to come back to communication. Even if it's going to be a little bit of an outreach, it's still going to come back to communication. They're going to say, well, we didn't close on time. Communication. The rates were different. Communication. They didn't do, they never called me back. Well, that's obvious communication. We went to the bank. I can guarantee you that's going to be communication. Any one of the negatives that they have are all going to come back to communication. And that's where you're going to shift their perception and tug on their heartstrings and go, that felt like you didn't get what you deserved. I believe that my best asset, because I've been in corporate America and customer relations and customer service for the past X amount of years, I'm an expert at doing these 3 things. And I just want to let you know that as much as I want, as much as I want to earn the business, right now I'm more concerned with you just kind of knowing that this is what I do. And this is how I do it. And this is the expectation that I have of myself and my team. And we know that when we get a chance, we'll honor you by getting that person to come back and say thank you. So between this call today that I'll send you the replay on and last week's call, listen to both replays again if you want, but definitely last week's. Get a conversation script written out that works for you, that you can say to your clients and say to those 5 people. And I'm telling you, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to feel a little awkward, but it won't feel nearly as awkward because you're not asking them for anything. You're just creating a perception, and it's going to help you get more conversational, and you're going to be more fluid. And the more you make this call happen, the more easy, the easier it's going to get. And who knows, brother, you might find that somebody goes, I'm glad that you called. I've got a question. And again, this whole business boils down to how many people a day do you talk to and ask for help from? What I heard you say earlier today was nothing to do with calling and talking to people. It was still hiding behind things. And Steve, I believe that you're a stronger professional and you're a much better communicator than you give yourself credit for. We just automatically assume that when we pick up the phone, we've got to be a salesperson, and I'm trying my hardest to teach you that that doesn't have to be the case.
And I wish you the very best and a lot of success in breaking me out of that mold.
Believe me, buddy, I've had plenty of practice at this, so this is going to be a fun ride for us. I assure you. So I'll send you the replay, and we'll pick this conversation up again next Thursday. But please, in the meantime, practice this stuff. It's not going to change overnight, but you've got to put yourself into these situations, and just trust me when I say this. You're not going to offend anybody. Nobody's going to be taken back by it, and any perception of your fears is all going to be created between your ears, not from your clients or your friends.
Okay, Doug. Hey, thank you. I appreciate your time. You've opened my mind here to a little bit of a new way of thinking, and I appreciate that. And we will do this. We will do this.
Awesome. Can I ask you a favor?
Yes.
My relationship with Les means the world to me. Everything that I do is predicated on Les's, my relationship with him and amplifying it, making it so he understands how much I care about him. And when he put you in touch with me and we start talking, you know, I want you to be so thrilled and so happy with what it is that I'm providing you that you feel like you're getting a tremendous amount of value out of it. And if you are, which is what I believe you just said, all I would ask right now is that you go back to Les and say thank you. Is that something you could do for me?
I could do that.
Therein lies the secret to everything you're going to do, brother.
Hey, Doug, how do you pronounce your last name?
Cataray?
Cataray.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you on Facebook?
I am.
Can you search me out on Facebook and like me so that I can put you into my private Facebook group called the Band of Partners?
Okay.
I do a daily post around mindset strategies, all centered around everything that we're talking about.
Okay. I will do that.
And then if you could go back to Les and say thank you, it'd mean the world to me.
Okay.
Hey, Al, let me ask you a real quick question before I let you go. Is it uncomfortable to hear me ask you to go tell Les thank you?
A little, but not bad.
Okay. So you going to Les and saying thank you for putting Doug in touch with me would feel uncomfortable?
I wouldn't use the word uncomfortable.
Okay. Different?
I would say I might not use the phrase thank you, and except that you have asked me to do it, and I said that I would. Normally, I might not have used the word thank you. I may have just said, hey, on your recommendation, I did have this conversation with Doug. He had some great ideas. He's going to help me, change my mindset a little bit, take a little different approach, and it looks like what he has to offer would be really effective.
Great.
And he may ask me to dive into some of that, and I've made a lot of notes while we've talked. I know what to tell him.
Right. So essentially, what you're doing is saying thank you in a very, very more specific way. I mean, you're showing less appreciation for him helping you get better. By him putting you in touch with me is really opened your eyes to what I'm sharing with you has opened your eyes, and that wouldn't have happened unless Les liked you, believed you, and wanted to help you.
I would agree with that, Doug. In this one conversation, you've given me a way to talk to some friends that I did not have before this conversation, and that's very valuable.
And that's the whole point of the mindset that I want you to have with your clients when you pick up the phone and have a conversation with them. See, I'm giving you something that you've never had before. Your clients and your friends will have never had this kind of a conversation with somebody like you before. And every one of them is going to find value in it because it speaks to something that most people never get to, and that's to the emotion of the business. The limbic part of the brain is the psychology side of this thing. And every person that sits where you're sitting, if you were a consumer and you're a client of mine, I was always able to get my clients to go back to the referral source and say thank you. You feel the same compelling desire to tell Les in your own words how appreciative you are for putting you and I together. That ask that I have of you is my request. That's something that I never took for granted. Whenever I got the thank yous from my clients, I always capitalized on those moments and got them to commit to saying thank you to the people they care about. They go back to that person and say thank you. That is me expanding my brand. That is how I went from 2 loan officers 2.5 years ago to over 38 loan officers today. Not because I'm calling them up, inviting them into the class, but because I've got people like Les telling other people about me, and I'm just simply expanding the brand. This is the art of what I'm going to teach you to do with your clients. This is the conversation style that you will begin to have with the people that get referred to you. And you will learn how to orchestrate these moments. You will learn how to capitalize on those moments, and you will quickly become very, very successful at creating relationships that are honoring you and your time and perceive you to be something more than a rate and a fee.
Okay.
See how it works? You see the concept now?
That sounds good, Doug. It does.
Okay. So, awesome, buddy. You've got some homework assignment. Pay attention to the thank yous you hear. I want you to practice thanks for noticing and then pick up the phone and have 5 conversations between now and next week, or as many as you want to have, and really work at the conversation of finding out what the negatives are that people have, the perceptions, and start changing that with the people that are closest to you.
I got it, Doug.
Awesome, brother. Have a great week. Enjoy the time with your family and friends. I look forward to speaking with you next week. The replay will be over in your inbox within the hour.
Thank you. You as well.